Time now for your League of Legends Power Rankings. This is ESPN Esports. I'm Arda Ocal with Darin Kwilinski, Tyler Erzberger joining us in Los Angeles. Many of the same names and faces remain in our top 5, but we got some fresh blood as well. But let's start with a team that was on this ranking last week, and they have fallen off the face of the earth. In fact, 8 weeks ago, this team was in 45th. They weren't even in the top 40. That's how low they were on the list. And they scratched and they clawed. They made it all the way to 3rd last week. But this week, SK Telecom T1 dropped down to 8th. Darin, why are they not in the top 5? Just one loss to Hanwha Life is the difference?
Apparently, a loss to Hanwha Life, who is a lower tier LCK team, is enough for us to drop them out of the top 5. I agree with the drop out of the top 5. I don't agree with how far they have fallen. I think that when you look at who else is above them, when you put Fnatic above them, you better have a better reason than a 2-0 week over Vitality, who's in a decent team, middle of the tier team. They were in the run for a playoff spot. And Excel, who doesn't really excel in the LEC. I think the strength of schedule for the SKT team is still stronger. It was a tough 2-1. They made some mistakes. They played a little bit too loose in game 1. They stabilized in game 2, and it was a blow-for-blow punch-out until a 50-50 Baron in game 3. Mm-hmm. Now, LCK is a generally regarded as still a stronger region, and I think that most of the LCK teams, including Hanwha Life, would beat teams like Excel and probably Vitality. So I don't agree with us dropping them so far. I think your 5, 6, 7 would probably be something more like a Griffin, SKT, and then Fnatic.
Okay. Tyler, there is no LCK representation in the top 5 this week. Usually it's been Damwon, SKT, Kingzone. We don't have any LCK teams in the top 5. Is that indicative of the region, or is it just other teams were more impressive? What's your take?
I think the issue right now with the LCK is that we really don't know who the best teams are. When you look at around the league and you see teams like Fnatic and G2, they are separating themselves from the pack when it comes to Europe. When you look at the LCK, we really don't know who the best team is. We thought it was SKT for a while. They had that win after win after win streak, and then finally losing to Hanwha. Griffin right now is in line to be the #1 team in the league. But we really don't know. Griffin had a 3-week slump where they looked terrible. They brought in Doran, a rookie top laner, to take over for their captain Sword. They finally seem to like they're getting back into that that form we expect of Griffin. They're only 2 wins away from locking in the #1 seed in Worlds. But right now, I think the reason why Fnatic, G2, and all these teams, because these teams are separating themselves from the pack. LCK doesn't have a team in the top 5 because we don't really know which of these teams from this giant glomp. I don't even know if glomp's a real word, but this glomp of teams of Damwon, Afrika, Gen.G, Griffin, Sandbox. Sandbox Gaming could be the #1 seed. Sandbox Gaming. Who even thought there would be a team called Sandbox Gaming before the year even started? I think SKT, we got a little bit too excited about them. We thought they were going to run through the rest of the regular season. I think that's why we had them 3rd. The loss from Hanwha kind of brought back our expectations of Korea. I don't think it's behind Europe, but I think G2 and Fnatic have very much established themselves as the class of Europe, and we can, expect things from them, and we can expect solid, we know what we're getting from these 2 teams. I think we can both say Fnatic and G2, especially G2, are favorites to go deep at Worlds. Right now, if you look at Korea, we don't know if any of these teams would actually do well at Worlds. We would probably assume that SKT would, go pretty far, make it out of groups, make quarterfinals, maybe make semifinals. But I don't think we have that confidence that we do when we look at G2 and Fnatic.
Tyler, what was that word again? Glop?
Glomp. I think it was glomp.
The glomp of teams.
How do we spell that?
The glomp of teams.
I got it. Glomp.
Glomp.
Okay, so to embrace enthusiastically, to pounce out and hug, often from a running start. So
All right, so it's actually a word. Hashtag Glomp, please, on Twitter and tag us so that we know that you're using the hashtag du jour. By the way, Sandbox is in 9th in our power rankings. SKT dropped to 8th. And Griffin is the highest LCK team, just narrowly missing the top 5.
Good wins against Africa and King Zone,
Yeah.
right? I mean, Tyler nails it on the head
Right.
on that, where the competition is a cluster, I'll use the word cluster, of really strong teams. But Griffin is, with those 2 good wins, I agree that they need to be ahead of SKT, just not sure SKT drops that far.
For the first time in 8 weeks, we have a glomp of LEC teams in the top 5. Can you believe it? More than one team. Surprise, surprise, G2 Esports is first on our list again. We'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about Fnatic, who break the top 5. They are in 5th place. They beat Excel and Vitality this week. Tyler, let's start with you. Why was that good enough to get them into our top 5?
I mean, they played Garen and Yumi. Isn't that enough, Arda? They played the spinning man himself in the bottom lane with Yumi. I think it goes back to my former point when I talked about the LCK team, is that Fnatic is a known quantity. I know we have Nemesis in the mid lane, and I think he's proved himself enough where we can start expecting more of this team. The core of this team made the World Finals last year. 4 out of these 5 guys were on the main stage. Me and Darin were there live with 35,000 people in attendance watching these guys play for a World Championship. Sure, their best player, their ace, Caps, is now on G2, but I think we can confidently say that whichever group Fnatic gets into at Worlds, they should get out. I think many people would put money on Fnatic being a top 8 team in the world. I think that's the real thing when it comes to the glomp, that we're kind of seeing that kind of, dissipate. We're seeing teams actually, fall back and fall forward. We're seeing teams like SK kind of fall out of, the playoff picture and, Worlds contention, when we're seeing teams like Fnatic and G2 kind of pick whatever they want and win. So Fnatic might be a little bit overrated in our rankings. They might, be stumbling a bit, but I think it's that confidence of knowing that this core can make it far at Worlds. And I think when we look at our power rankings, these are the teams that we think are going to do well come November, October, when the World Championship's on the line.
And to be fair, Fnatic have been in that 6 to 10 range for the last 8 weeks. I mentioned G2, and you were kind of shaking your head there, Darin. What's up there?
No. I think if I had to put money on it now, I would say Fnatic's going to go farther than G2 at Worlds. And the reason being is I think Fnatic is going to come into Worlds flat-footed. I don't even think that they should be number 1 on our power rankings right now. I think a stronger team would be an FPX, an RNG, maybe even just this past week, just because of Griffin. Because I just don't think that G2 respects their opponents enough in the LEC to actually get any good practice in. You see things like them against Misfits, where they were down 2K gold at 4 minutes and behind 5 kills. Now, kills aren't everything. 2K gold, though, at 14 minutes, that's something that a really, really good team can exploit and snowball. And it's actually something that you saw Hanwha Life do against SKT in Game 1, where SKT made a few early game mistakes, and Hanwha just snowballed it out of control to where SKT could not come back. Good teams, great teams at Worlds are going to do that and exploit G2, and I just don't know if they have the practice to confidently go in and say, yeah, 2K gold down at 14 minutes, yeah, we're fine. Yeah, you're fine in the LEC, but when you go up against an LPL team or an LCK team, what's really going to happen? And my gut says they're going to be flat-footed.
So G2 Esports and Fnatic, 1st and 5th respectively, they flank our LPL teams. Once again, strong Chinese representation in our power rankings. FPX, RNG, top esports, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. What does this mean for the LPL going into Worlds, Tyler? Should we really expect these Chinese teams to go very far?
I think it'd be a disappointment if not all 3 Chinese teams that make Worlds, whichever who they are. We might not even see IG make Worlds at this rate, but the 3 Chinese teams all should be favored and should be expected to make top 8 at Worlds. If they don't make top 8, it should be a disappointment. And if one of them don't win, China's not going to be very happy.
You agree?
Oh, totally agree. I think that the LPL is the most competitive region by far. LCK is probably right behind them. LEC and NA are where they are. They're just there.
Right.
You have Team Liquid and G2 and Fnatic and I guess TSM's not really even there anymore,
Right.
unless they get through the gauntlet. But yeah, LPL is definitely the strongest region. They're going to have the strongest teams there. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a China versus China final.
Yeah. And if you agree or disagree, let us know at ESPN_esports. We have just enough time to tell you that Royal Youth is in 34th position in our power rankings, the darlings of the TCL. The best top laner in Turkey, however.
The 10-second TCL update from Arda Ocal.
That's right. The best top laner in Turkey, Armut. And as you know, Armut is Turkish for pair. Please click that subscribe button on our channel, youtube.com/ESPN Esports. And don't forget, round-the-clock coverage is always available at ESPN.com/esports.